Guys, welcome to round 2 of Aikido Sparring. You can imagine titling a video, Real Aikido Sparring That Works, can generate a lot of controversy. Aikido is not a beloved martial art on the internet, and I understand why. Frankly, the way I learned and the way almost everyone practices is compliant partner exercises, and there's no live training or sparring of any sort. And that's fine if you just want something that's aesthetically cool. But if you want to call your art functional, that's not okay. It just isn't if you're not doing certain things. Now, I claimed that I found areas where Aikido is in fact functional, and I demonstrated some exercises with resisting partners. And I got a lot of criticisms. In fact, that video was the most thumbs down I've ever gotten on a video. One person in particular left a comment who I have a lot of respect for. That would be Josh from Combat Learning, and made some criticisms. One being that my students were attacking me like Aikidoka, and that the attacks they were performing weren't representative of what someone would actually be trying to do to me. So I asked him what he would like to see so that I could show the system in action against untrained people. I said I'd get some untrained people who have never done any training with me, who have no martial arts experience, and have them try to get me in the ways that he wanted. And the parameters he gave me, he wanted them to put some kind of bear hug on me, be it from the front or the back. And basically, if you can get the arms around someone, it demonstrates that you can set them up for a takedown. So, this is what I did with untrained people. And I thought rather than just show you the footage this time, I would actually break it down frame by frame so I can show you exactly how Aikido presents itself in live training. Because a lot of people, again, confuse the kata, the entire kata, for what Aikido is trying to do. My contention is that it's good for 4 things. One is staying autonomous, meaning not letting somebody get a hold of you. This can be good for just getting away in general, or getting away long enough to access a weapon platform. Number 2, retaining your weapon so that if you have deployed a weapon and they try to take it from you, that you can work on retaining it. Number 3, taking someone else's weapon. And number 4, using the locks and pins for high mobility control, meaning that you pin someone and you have the ability to move a lot more easily than with a submission from something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which has more security but less mobility. Okay, so those are the 4 pillars. And in this case, I'm testing staying autonomous and weapon retention, and I'm going to take you through frame by frame. Okay, so staying autonomous, I'm trying to avoid the bear hug. Mind you, I'm doing this, there's a few things that threw me a little bit. 1, I had an audience. 2, I didn't want to mess up for the video because there was a lot at stake here, right? And 3, I had never worked with these people before, so I had no idea how they were going to move, and I wasn't going to use any of the locks or anything because I didn't want to accidentally hurt someone who wasn't used to that kind of stuff. So I was just trying to be evasive. All right, let's break it down. So, moving in for the bear hug. What I'm trying to do is stay offline and prevent him from getting a firm hold. So you can see the first few were failed, and now he's moving in more aggressively. And this is where you start to see some of the techniques from Aikido show up. So once again, I'm moving to the outside, and you see here, I connect with his elbow. This is what's known as an ikkyo, which is an elbow control. In this case, I'm using it as a suppression, so I can move to an angle where, at least momentarily, he can't get to me. Okay? Kind of clasp in the middle. Now he's grabbed my my arm there, upper arm. And this is a point where I'm here a little longer than I would have liked to have been. So you could call this a failure, even though he hasn't gotten the arms around me fully, but he's got a nice square grip. So I popped out of that one and found the ikkyo again, elbow control, and now I'm able to take that side angle again. Now here is interesting, he's grabbed my wrist in the exact crossed wrist grab or ai hamni position we see in training, and I'm able to do a full-on ikkyo to his arm here, and he's so committed to it that he falls down quite dramatically, actually, which I didn't mean to do to him. I was simply trying to suppress his arm, but he really committed to grabbing me, so he ended up falling on his own accord there. Shooting in again, you notice what he's trying to do is catch my wrist. It's because if you're trying to get to someone, you have to get an outer extremity first. Oh, look at that, the cross-hand wrist grab again, which allows a perfect ikkyo setup once again. In order to get to them, you can't just bypass their arms easily, so you're going to try to grab the closest thing to you. Now, interesting, these finger positions, there's some finger locks you can do when people do this that are quite painful, but I'm just trying to get to safe angles here. Didn't want to deal with that or get caught up in a fighting situation. Look at that, again, a wrist grab and an ikkyo, just as I would have predicted. And you can see here shooting for the cloth. I didn't have a gi with me, so he grabs my shirt there, but in class, of course, we practice with a gi, so it's a little bit easier for them to get a hold of you. And once again, I take a side angle, trying to get around him. This is quite exhausting, by the way, even though it only lasts for a few seconds. Running away is a lot of work, and chasing someone who's not letting you get to them is a lot of work too. Now right here, he shoots in and I place a hand on the neck and arm and set up an unorthodox, what is called kaiten nage, which is rotary throw. So you push down on the head and arm, and in this case I shuffled my feet away. It was incomplete because it was not set up perfectly, but it was enough to move to a safe angle. Again, using the suppression on the arm and elbow, finding the safe angle. And again, all of those instances are times where if I had a weapon, I could try to get to it. Okay, so here's the second attacker. That was the end of the first one. And he actually takes a very different approach and shoots in low right out of the gate. So here, I try to, when he does this, put that hand on the neck area again. This can be called a triangle in Aikido. It's really just a wedge position. Makes it hard to bypass. And right here, you can't see on the camera, but he committed so much that he fell. My partners were really good at attacking aggressively. And so see, you can see he comes in really, really aggressively here. And so I try to establish that position again, and I'm able to perform a little bit better kaitenage because he's very committed, and he actually takes the fall again there. And there's that finger clasping position, not textbook Aikido. See, here's that triangle wedge again, just trying to keep them from gaining access to better holds. So I shoot my hand in there so I can create that little gap and get back to safety. And you notice there, even though he's going low a lot, he does briefly grab my wrist and I pop out, or he releases. I'm not quite sure which happened first there, but he decided it wasn't a great position to be in. And he's close to catching me here. So that's a lot of jockeying for kind of catching the arms. Here's a nice little suppression on the elbow, an ikkyo, and then that allows me to take that side angle. And here you can see he's really trying to get me and kind of overextending himself a little bit, but he managed to recover that. Got the hand on the head again. Oh, he's got a low grip. If it were firmer cloth, that's something I would probably have to deal with, but my shorts aren't very strong, and my shirt here is not great for gripping, so it popped out, but that's stuff we work on with the gi on. That's what I was showing in the other video, is just isolating those things. Okay, now I'm in the corner, bad place to be, so I'm trying to sidestep, get out of the corner there. He stays on me. I'm almost in trouble here. He's got one arm around, but I've got that triangle position, which allows me once again to wedge out. Okay, and again, an aggressive charge. shooting for that wrist grab, shooting for the wrist grab. Triangle. And that's interesting, kind of unorthodox. Jockeying for position. Oh, he's got the cloth, but not quite enough. And I've got the elbow suppression again, which gets me the side angle. Now here's interesting, right? So you notice how his upper body extends past his feet, which allows me to just slightly rotate here, and he pretty much does that to himself. It's kind of another kaitenage rotary throw type of motion there. And I think that was it for that one. All right, and I'll show these at full speed too. It just looks more chaotic and you might think there's no Aikido going on, so I'm trying to explain the pieces as we break this down. So this next one, you can see I have a tanto here, a wooden knife, and I told him just to take it from me. I didn't give him any other parameters from that. There's a delightful little surprise at the end. So, okay, notice what he does right away. Cross hand wrist grab. That's what he did instinctively when I told him to take the weapon, is just try to get to my wrist. And that sets up, yes, a classic ikkyo suppression technique, or ikkyo elbow control. Another ikkyo there, because once again he's going in for the wrist. Now I kind of pressure him with the weapon here, and he grabbed the blade of it and just pulled it out of my hand, so I said that didn't count. You be the judge of that. You could give that to him, but he did grab it by the blade, so I'll let you be the judge if he got it fairly or not. Okay. Once again, cross hand wrist grab to ikkyo. And I kind of frame so that I could use it. Now this is interesting. This is a choke from Aikido called kubishimi, where you grab one arm and then go behind the neck on the other. But normally you'd grab the weapon hand so that you have the control over that. And you can see he doesn't, so I don't really choose to contend with this. I just kind of spin out of it. And he shoots for that weapon hand again. And look at that, another cross hand wrist grab or aihamni, and another ikkyo. Now you'll see here, what's really interesting is if they really commit to holding your arm, the technique looks more and more textbook. So watch here. I was not trying to throw him, but he held so strongly that it caused his body to fall in exactly the way that we teach students to fall when an ikkyo is being applied, which is to kick the leg up and put one hand down to ease your fall. And so he fell in an exact textbook manner. I was, again, not trying to do that to him. It was just that he was really committed to the attack. Now here is a little delightful moment. So he grabs, and he's figured out not to grab in that same way. So he grabs with a different grip from the one he was using before. And I should have here brought my elbow over the top to release, but in my head, he was grabbing the same way. And so I tried to perform a shihonage, moving underneath, but he was too sturdy there. And notice he's pulled my hand to his shoulder using his two hands, and he's got the knife so that the blade is upside down where the dull point is on his arm. And he's turning my hand so that it's pinky up. Now, right here, he's got me in a textbook Nikkyo from Aikido, which I never taught him. So don't think he's an Aikido student. And he uses the textbook Nikkyo to leverage the knife out of my hand. Boom. Perfect. And I was actually quite delighted by that and started clapping, because even though I failed, in my eyes, he just validated Aikido further, because being completely untrained, he figured out that a Nikkyo can be a good way to pluck something out of someone's hands. Okay? So now right there you can see all the use cases for Aikido that I was talking about on display outside of the high mobility locks and throws, but those are present as well. They may be something that you have to be stronger than your opponent to viably use, but in the case of something like a police officer arresting a smaller person, that's where I think they have potential for a good use case. All right, there you have it. There's me doing exactly as requested to try to prove some validity for Aikido. Now, let me be the first to tell you, I understand everybody has blind spots. I'm sure I'm no exception to this. And I am psychologically, I'm primed to have a blind spot with Aikido. I'll explain. I invested 7 years in training. A lot of driving like an hour and 10 minutes, and training hard, and earning a first-degree black belt, 7 years of time, and then teaching it here. And I like it. I like the aesthetic of it. I like the history of it. I want it to work. So I'm psychologically invested to do all sorts of mental gymnastics to make Aikido something that is truly applicable. Maybe I'm doing that. But I show this to people. I let them feel it. And so far, I've had a lot of people who think I'm onto something here. Now, I'm open to criticism here. I understand, too, that someone with other training might do better. Like maybe you took a wrestler and asked them to do the same stuff that I just did in the video. Maybe they would do better. But what I would counter with is that I can teach people to do this stuff with very low impact. So it's a lot of just footwork training, positional training, and I can teach it to small people, and they don't ever have to roll around on the ground or get tackled or tackle other people. It's all evasive stuff, and they can reasonably employ these things against larger opponents because it's all about avoiding the confrontation. That's the point of it. It's not about fighting and subduing someone. It's about improving positional advantage so that you can flee, or if you do need to cause harm to them, get to a superior weapons platform where you can more realistically even out the odds there. That's the point of the art as presented to me by actually Christopher Hines, who has demonstrated these methods quite thoroughly. So I've been playing a lot with them for the past few years, and these are the results I have found so far. Hope you enjoyed round 2 of real Aikido sparring.
That was worse.